Hey, everybody, how are you? Welcome, and welcome back to I'm Possible Live. I'm delighted you're joining us today. Welcome back. If you're just popping in for a replay, hi, how are you? Let us know where you're from and ways we can help you and who you're looking to meet. And I'm delighted to be outdoors today. Warning, 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 as they would say in Lost in Space. Occasionally, we'll have some interesting background. I'm delighted to be on a beautiful deck looking at a little spring as we're here with amazing Marcia. Marcia and I'm delighted about today because whenever we're having our conversations about how we're choosing topics or how we got here, Marcia and we've had an interesting ride together, and I really have to thank her for that. One of the things that I love is that Marcia and I met in Sally Hogshead's Fascination Connection Advantage Group. And we met because Marcia had one of those questions that I actually was working on and looking for the same answer. And what I love is Marcia, in her amazing spirit, just asked this great question about had anyone used fascination advantages when working with partners. And it was something I had started to do a couple of months before. But the thing was, universe sends us another cool kid who's doing some cool stuff. And as we say, lots of background today, but it's a beautiful day. So thanks for keeping hanging in there with us. And in the process of meeting Marcia, hey, Sebastian, hello from Zurich. How are you? How are you? And welcome. And hey, Catherine, for joining us again from Scottsbluff. And when I met Marcia's question in the group really was one of those bookmarks. I was just at that point where, like you're in online communities and you're not sure they're safe. You're not sure they're for you yet. But I had been working with Sally's system in like a group coaching setting for a while with some amazing coaches. And here is Marcia. And Marcia is asking a question I wished I had typed. So I typed an answer, and then we had the holidays, and Marcia thought, I had forgotten about her. And I popped back in to ask her, how was the partnership with the Fascination Advantages? So we're talking about Sally Hogshead's book, How the World Sees You, and a system called Fascination Advantages. And it helped Marcia. Oof. I'm so excited because you, my dear, are the reason for this title, because you helped Mel learn about her superpowers. I wasn't sure I had any, and hidden talents, and not to underestimate ourselves. We never describe ourselves the way others would. So Marcia, without further ado, I'd love to give you a chance to introduce yourself right now to everybody.
Hello, everybody. Yay! I'm so glad to be here, Mel, and I'm really excited about this entire talk that we're going to do. So, as you know, my name is Marcia McCray. I'm the founder and CEO of Marcia McCray Omnimedia. And you guys, forgive me because I am in bed right now. I'm recording right from bed because I injured my knee. So the lighting may not be the best. But anyway, I founded Marcia McCray Omnimedia like years ago. Like I've been in business for like 20 years, right? But I built seven brands from the ground up. And I've been very blessed to do that. So I'm also a certified e-commerce marketing specialist. I'm also a certified community management specialist. And I'm really excited, you guys, because I feel like people, the world needs more of who you are as opposed to what other people are telling you that you are, or who you are, or what you should do. So I'm really excited about this title, Connect to the Power That You Already Possess, because that's one of my taglines for one of my brands called The Executive Call. And honestly, you guys, it's the journey of discovering more about the power that you have within you has been so interesting for me. It has been so interesting for me because it has been like Melanie said, we went through the Fascination Advantage stuff with Sally Hogshead. Um, then I did my own thing about practicing introspection and just focusing on how becoming more self-aware. Okay, so what am I doing? Why am I acting this way? What is it that some situation is bothering me? Why is it bothering me like this? So these are things that I ask myself. And honestly, so there are to connect to the power that you already possess involves alignment and three things that you will need to do to travel the road, which is your road, okay? Experience the journey and share the destination. So for me, travel the road is everyone's road is different. Okay. So traveling my road was more on becoming more in tuned in spiritually with my connection with Jesus, right? And becoming even more self-aware, like I mentioned before, which includes introspection, self-reflection, and insight, and also conquering mindsets that have attempted to hold me back from walking confidently and fully into who I was created to be. And so experience the journey is learning along the way, right? It's learning the tools, strategies, and activities that will help all of us navigate through our personal lives and businesses because you don't want to stick to, I think as entrepreneurs, we tend to get really stressed out and we start focusing in on, oh, I got to do this. I got to make this money. I got to do this. I got to do this product. I got to do this launch. I got to do this. And the thing is, the journey is not just about your personal, I mean, it's not just about your business. It also includes your personal life. What things were you what kind of things did you want to do in your personal life as well as your business? So it's not a one set thing. And I think a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we tend to forget that. We all tied up in the business aspects that we tend to forget that we have a personal life and that it needs to be a harmony between the two, right? So anyway, as I said, it's learning along the way, the tools, strategies, and activities that will help us navigate our personal lives and businesses. And then we share the destination. So once we've traveled the road and experienced the journey, we can share confidently with others our experiences and we can possibly help them discover theirs along the way. So it's about community. It's about sharing what you've learned through your road, traveling your road and experiencing your journey. It's about sharing the tools, the things that your experiences that you've gone through to help other people navigate theirs, and it's just a sharing thing that's really important. And all three of those are like the major things of connecting to the power that you already possess. So you guys, honestly, over the years, one of the things that I've discovered is that it's far easier to look outside of ourselves rather than assess what is going on inside. And we as human beings tend to look outside for validation for what we do in our lives and businesses. So, I mean, let's just think about it. So let's say there might be this entrepreneur that's they're sharing their stuff on Instagram or something, right? And so another entrepreneur may be like, it might be an influencer that they're looking at. A person might be looking at this influencer and saying, oh God, they can look at all their followers. Oh, how can I do that? Let me copy what they're doing, right? Because it's easier to look at what someone else is doing, as opposed to actually finding out for yourself what it is that you're to do. So anyway, so like I said, it's easier to look outside of ourselves rather than what's going on inside. So we tend to look for a validation for what we do in our lives and businesses. And so you guys, and there are a couple of problems that play in accessing that depth, right? Of knowing that deep down that there's something that we have to offer, but we just are not doing it. So Mel, did you want to chime in for something before I start going into the two problems?
Wanted to say, hi, Heather, welcome. And hey, Cheryl. Hey, Clarine, thanks for popping in and joining us. Marcia, one of the things that catches me when you're talking about having this system. So what were the three things again before you go in and do a deep dive on them?
The three things are travel the road, it's experience the journey, and the third one is share the destination. So traveling your road, and It's your specific road. Everyone in this world has their own path. Okay. And so it's important that we recognize what our path is, because my path is not Melanie Richards' path. Okay. So it's important for me to discover what it is that I'm doing. I love seeing you broadcast from beautiful. Oh, Clarine.
I love what you're saying about tapping into our own paths, because I've been having a lot of conversations recently, and I'm grateful for really amazing coaches who are helping me dive into this. And Clarine and Cheryl, y'all are woo, and Sebastian and Heather and Catherine, you're all helping me dive deeper. We don't really necessarily know what our path is. We're not necessarily trusting it. We're
Yeah.
not necessarily feeling, for me, and I love that you mentioned it about spirituality. My path had to be aligned with a faith walk. It took me a
Yeah.
while to
Yeah.
kind of feel that vibe, that cadence, that beat. Because of it now, as you're talking about connections, I know the key for me personally, and I'm not sure who else feels this, but the key for me is alchemy. There's a blend on our path of whether it's rhythm, whether it's coaches, whether it's inspiration, whether it's how we share information we learn, whether it's how we communicate, whether it's what inspires you. Like Clarine would say it, beautiful blue skies, a zillion % humidity, but man, I may come see my parents every Monday to hang out here in the humidity this summer. But Heather also says it really best. Knowing we have our own journey helps in less comparisons.
Yep, you got that
All
right.
unique and wonderful, and have our own stories to tell versus trying to tell somebody else. Heather,
Yep.
I love that. And
Yes.
Clarine's our visions of journeys. I love this.
Ours.
Alone. I
Yep.
think that's one of the things that I love about what Marcia is saying. But really, if I hadn't found her in a Facebook group of about 4,000 people, I think the last 5 years, how different my life would have been. I want to thank you for being a blessing and for your gifts from the universe. But I can think of, like you say, on that path, all the things that I've maybe discovered and bounced on you in the process of watching you as like an amazing brand navigator. I think of our conversations about human design. You were like, Mel, ooh, what's this? Now I'm hanging out with the positive intelligence community, and I'm so grateful because that's really showing me another opportunity in the positive intelligence, because in positive intelligence, there are what we call sage powers, and they're empathy, they're explore, innovate, navigate, activate. I'm grateful for amazing coaches in the positive intelligence community and people like Phil Gilks and Angie Alexander, who are just like bringing it, because you think of what it does to change your journey. Before we start talking about things on others' paths, Marcia, and other ways, and your next step,
right?
How do you connect at your core to that wellspring that kind of makes you discover your powers or your superpowers? You know, sometimes we're really stuck. We're stuck in what I used to call analysis paralysis, or and then I left that for perfection paralysis. You know, how would you suggest we tap into that to kind of connect into what's going on inside, and especially on days when we're not hearing that channel?
Yeah. So, two things that well, actually three. Um, I think we need to think about alignment, self alignment. Okay. And that means like determining what you are saying or thinking about yourself, because those things, what you're telling yourself, affects everything that you do. It does. It affects your mindset and everything. So are those thoughts lies or truth? And so you would write down some negative things you're telling about yourself, then using these negative perceptions, write the exact opposite of them using positive words. Okay. Another thing, and you can also use affirmations as well. See, these are things that could help you, deal with those issues. Acknowledge your feelings rather than push them down. Sometimes life can throw us curveballs, right? We know this. Life can get really hard. But we must acknowledge the hit feel and experience the pain and then move forward. So and it needs to be all those things, you
One
know.
thing though about the moving forward part, and I'd
Hmm.
love to, it'll take me back to positive intelligence, because now through positive intelligence and mental
Hmm.
fitness for life,
Hmm.
there's now a system, and I'm in love with their tactile reps, kind of
Hmm.
rubbing our fingers together to kind
Hmm.
of tap into self command to bring out the sage powers.
Hmm.
But for those who, when we're stuck in a, we're in a fragile world where there's a lot
Yeah,
of emotions, there's a lot
absolutely.
of outside chatter, there's a lot of
Yeah.
outside views, you know. As a family, we're having interesting generational conversations today, as we have an amazing new aide who's working, you know, to help support and care for our parents. What happens when the emotions kind of stop you from tapping
Hmm.
into the power? I like what you said about journaling too.
Yep.
I journal the positive. I've stopped journaling the negative. I now do what, and you taught me this with Darla Ledoux when we were exploring that first Be Visible
Hmm.
retreat. I make that quadrant she talked about, that kind of yes, no quadrant. And then I put it away. I
Hmm.
focus on the yeses. And with coaches, then I work on addressing the fears. But I think sometimes we write it, and that becomes the opposite of an affirmation. It becomes
Hmm.
the opposite of a mantra. And I can say that to you because you and I both, we're the journal girls. How many
Hmm.
journals do we have?
Hmm.
What would you say when you're trying to get unstuck, to kind of discover the truth part of that?
So here's the deal. I feel I'm very strong on community, even if it's like a very small community of people, somebody that you can trust, that you can talk to. And sometimes if that person does not possess the skills to do that, then sometimes we may need to go see a therapist or a counselor, a life coach, or somebody like that to help us walk through those things, because sometimes you can't, it's sometimes you just, like you said, you can't make it past and you can't move forward until you're releasing something. And as far as journaling, it's not just about writing down the positive. Honestly, it's writing down what you're feeling, everything that you're feeling. But then as you do that, then like go back and say, okay, is this really truth? Is this really truth what I'm saying?
Sometimes, though, we get stuck in what we write. And I remember this from
Mm,
joining 11, Evelyn Asher recently in her wonderful
mhm.
Wisdom Collective. She invited me into a poetry collective last weekend. What a blast! I had so much fun. And I hadn't written poetry
Mhm.
since becoming the Me Too Believe Survivor girl, when I wrote angry poems. I haven't written a poem since then. What I
Mhm.
loved was hanging out with them on their writing breaks.
Mhm.
I then wrote a short story, which will
Mhm.
now lead to a book. So I think I love what you're saying. When I mentioned it to Exquisite Eve Voyaveda, Eve's like, Mel, this is another book. I know you're working on the first book, but Mel, this is another book as you're working through the emotions. I think that process of trying to dig out is kind of cool. Another thing too, it reminds me, we were talking about fascination advantages before,
Mhm.
and I think you helped me learn to tap into a Mel power by
Mhm.
really helping me with Mystique,
Oh,
which we
okay.
talked about. I used to
Mhm.
get stuck in my head and not necessarily raise my hand or share it. You know, I wouldn't necessarily articulate it. Sometimes it's really deep, really internal. The introvert was processing it. The
Mhm.
ambivert is getting better at sharing it and letting it out. And the process of writing a book is helping that. But when we're stuck in our own heads, I think that was something you helped me do
Mhm.
with the mystique, because
Right.
you helped me learn, share it, say it, honor it, you know?
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, Clarine's, wow.
Yes, Clarine, I agree. Absolutely. I use it for positive thoughts, but also to vent painful experiences so I can get them off of my mind. Absolutely. That's what my point was. So, yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah. But like you said, Mel, sometimes we can get stuck in just writing the painful stuff and not dealing, not trying to bring some kind of like resolution from that painful. And she says, me too, journaling helps. Yep. Okay. Yep, Catherine. Yep. So, but yeah,
So the
just,
resolution part, you're
mhm,
reminding us in the part of trust, of tuning in to people who can help us, whether
mhm.
we're tuning into a religious or spiritual leader,
Right, right.
whether maybe we're meditating,
Or a
whether
therapist
we're
or
starting
whatever.
our day off with affirmations, whether
Yep.
we're, doing, the millionaire game show, the phone a friend, the
Hmm.
phoning several friends, the checking in with a family member. But what else would you suggest we investigate as we move towards your second step?
So, count, like I said, it was actually the third one. I kind of mixed them all in there. So the third one was counteract the negative thoughts, with something positive, like we just said, right? And then journaling is what I said. So those are things. And then talking to people, like I said, talking to people that you really trust. So those are the things. So it's like determine what you're saying or thinking about yourself. You need to assess what is it that you're saying or thinking about yourself. To acknowledge your feelings rather than push them down. That's something really major because a lot of people will push their stuff down and they won't deal with it. They will not address it. And that's something that can affect your health, that can affect everything, your mindset, everything that you do. And then of course counteract the negative thoughts with something positive and then journal. And you know it's really, I think that those things will help you dig deeper. And then you talk about introspection. Okay, so it's actually self-awareness. I kept a journal all the way from, I'm sitting here trying to read and talk. But so those are things. So here's something that I really want to share. Okay, so right now I want everybody, okay, I want you to undress. I invite you to undress. Mel, give me a few minutes for a minute here, okay? I want everyone to undress. Undress what people have been telling you who you should be and what you should do. Undress until what I call butt naked, okay? Down, strip everybody, not literally, but it's removing every piece of ill-fitting clothing or, things that anyone has ever told you that you should be or what you should do, that people have put on you, and you can start anew. And no matter who you are, it is not too late, you guys, for you to start over, to recapture that part of yourself that was dormant. See, these are really important pieces that people do. They undress and then redress themselves. So who and what people tell you to do and to be and do not fit who you are. Okay. And I'm sure some of you have heard this already. These represent the ill fitting clothing. Those clothes that people tried to dress you with were for you to be like everyone else, to fit in. So, like I said before, it is easier to look outside of ourselves rather than within. So we mimic others in what they do and how they act. So, you guys, you do not exist to be a copy. And that includes everything that people say you are and what you should do. So a copy can only be what it is. It lives in the shadow of the original, owning no originality of its own. So when you copy, you lose yourself and you begin to start identifying yourself. That includes yourself, your brand, and your business in the image of that copy. An original can always keep adding and adding to and reinventing itself, but a copy can only live in the shadow of that original, never able to diverge from what it truly is. And that's a copy, you guys. So acting as a copy will suffocate, bury, and eventually kill your original purpose and the brand that you are designed to have. So, like I said, and I tell people this all the time, with almost 8 billion people in the world, there are over 8 billion different possibilities or ways for people to do things. Okay. So we're not all like to be like one another. And digging deep will help you to, the practicing self-awareness and introspection will help you to understand more of who you are. Okay. It will help you to discover more of who you are. And, like I said, we're uniquely designed to create positive impact in the world, no matter what our position is in life, no matter what. So that's the thing. And I think we just get a lot of times, and sometimes I fall into this trap too, Mel, honestly. sometimes we get into this thing of, oh, well, such and such said that I should do this, or maybe I should do this. And the thing is, we have to learn to trust ourselves. What are we saying? How do we figure that out? How do we figure that out?
I love what you're
And
saying,
that's,
and especially like you're saying, because Clarine's saying it also. I think we get caught in the shadow.
yep.
You know, there's
Oh,
there's
yeah.
there's the light. You know, it reminds me of the Eddie Murphy movie. It'll come back to me. Might be Boomerang, where he's got the two Eddie Murphys, one on each shoulder, and it's
Oh,
one thing
yeah.
that really helped me with positive intelligence. The reminder: there's the us that's kind of forward facing. There's the us that maybe is working not necessarily towards our greater good.
Yeah.
And then there's the us that's like fully present. But I love what Clarine wrote because it reminds me of the shadow, you know, and it reminds me also, I've got a DVD from that I picked up at Omega Institute about shadow work, but I realized I've been doing a lot of shadow work, as you would say, whether it's the pandemic, whether it's saying, working with clients more, whether it's the exploration part that the pandemic brings up. Like now, I really say, I know now, finally, Mel's a scientist. I've got an alchemy brand. I don't always bring it out because the geeky, you're in Mel's head, like when you're working with a client where somebody's like, hey, are you still there? And it appears like I'm deep in thought. It's like that deep active listening. We almost have to do it for ourselves.
Yeah, it's true.
And kind of
It's
create an atmosphere of safety, whether
absolutely
it's our own sanctuary or somebody's welcoming you into one, or me hanging out on my parents' porch. And Cheryl will laugh because Cheryl knows this view the other way. But you need to be in places that bring you peace, that bring you a wellspring.
Yeah.
Because we don't know, just like Marcia's saying, her knees bothering her, it's, you're still showing up as the absolute best you. But I think realizing we all have a shadow. There's the yin and the yang, there's the good and the bad, there's that other side of it. For me, I had such deep kind of trust and safety issues that exploring that to really think about being the alchemist, mixing it up, it's not something others don't necessarily want to wait for your next thought to come out because you're processing something on all of your cylinders.
Right.
But there's also a book on verbal judo, which is reminding me of. And verbal judo talked about how in every conversation, there's a minimum of 3 of us on each side. So technically there's a minimum of 6. And now with our interesting world, there's probably a bunch more combinations. As we said before, many of us have health issues or health other things that are happening. But it reminded us there's the person who's present fully. This person who's thinking about what they're going to say next. And then there's the person who's listening to what somebody else is saying, whether you're thinking about responding or how to really share your opinion. But I really love that. Really, really love that. And I really have to thank Clarine for really tuning into us. Clarine, I'm telling you, Marcia is like, I call her the brand navigator for a reason. And I love it when we're together. We're not really sure where the twists and turns are. All I know is the road we travel will be relatively well lit.
That's right. Oh, I love that.
It will be safe. It'll be safe. We're going to look out for each other. We're each other's AAA. Marcia has survived a very large Richards family dinner on the day we finally met in person. And and I'm looking forward to the next one. We laughed today because our moms had a chance to talk to each other for the first time. But I think Clarine says it really right, that the more she discovers about what uniquely makes up the shine online of Clarine, the more she loves herself.
Absolutely.
Self-love is
absolutely. That's the point. If you the more you discover more about yourself, the less you start caring about what other people are trying to put on you, and don't let them define you. What I tell people all the time, do not let someone define you, because if you don't define yourself, then someone else or another brand, another person, another company will define you. So that's the thing. The more you discover more about yourself, the less that interference will come in to where people will try to do that to you, or they may do it, they may try to do it, but they won't succeed at doing so, because
But it's one of the
you
reasons
defined
too.
yourself.
I love that, because in our process of talking about fascination advantages and talking about languages, and I was delighted last week to be reminded to share them with a group of amazing, talented photographers who I had the chance to meet recently because of a wonderful member of our Illuminations groups for talented entrepreneurs on Facebook. And Tara introduced me to this dynamic group, and it reminded me of our fascination advantages as our core, that just gave us some language that we could use to describe ourselves, some ways to think about our brand. Because I think when we're stuck about connecting to the power, and today as I'm having fun working outdoors without a plugged in laptop, it's bringing like a different energy. But I think we need to connect to some sort of, I guess, some sort of, it's beyond zest for life, but we really need to connect in just like you're saying, to the power, but to connect to the energy, to locate the power, to not give up searching for new keys to unlock doors to
Absolutely.
the power, because we get tired of the excavating. We wonder when we're showing up, how are we going to show up? Marcia and I talked before, and grateful Catherine's in the back green room. I'm like, hey, these wonderful gentlemen, they're hammering, they're sawing, they're whatever, but you know what? This is where we're at today. And I think it's a matter of tapping into that well. No matter what happens, we've got this. No matter what happens, I've got you. And I want to thank you, because from the second we met, an online question.
That was a journey.
Wonderful. An online question turned into one of those direct message chats. Like, I feel like the first time Marcia and I were typing for about 30, 45 minutes.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It was crazy. It was like immediate connection. It was
late. It was late, but you know what it was? Marcia was wonderful. It's like, oh wow, she asked about me and my project,
and she thought about me. Yes, that's what I was like. Oh, this woman is real.
But I think
she was genuine.
I think the same, because I really was stuck in what Sally Hogshead talks about from Mystique. It was trying to communicate with some sort of impact, and you're not sure. I wasn't sure then, as a newer coach, as an event professional who wasn't an event planner. That was the beginning maybe of my alchemy brand. I was learning how to play full out, you'd say, or play 360, and Marcia really helped me find a safer place to kind of venture out online and to experiment more outdoors. And especially that process, just you're amazing at helping me plan our first hybrid retreat.
You're amazing. You're amazing. And I need to share this with everybody. You guys, really, when we say be visible with Mel, at first when I met her, she was increase her visibility, right? But when she and I was going through some stuff in 2018 to 2019. I was like, oh God, I'm just having this hard time. I don't want to be seen. I don't want to be seen. Well, God let me hook up with the woman that's like, be visible. She hooked me up. So I wanted to stay behind the scenes with, systems and planning, and all this stuff. And then it was like 2019. I was like, oh, I'm so tired of being broke. I am so tired. And it was because I wanted to stay behind the scenes. Well, Mel brought that out of me. She was like, oh, what would be great is if we did a talk together and blah, blah, blah. And it was like in early 2020, yeah. we finally decided, okay, let's do a talk. And that's where we did dialogues. What is it? Dialogues, uncover and
Dialogues
define.
uncover
Uncover
and
and
define.
define. And that, you guys, I'm telling you, that started catapulting me like out of my shell of wanting to not be seen. But this thing about discovering the power within and connecting to that power is a journey. It's not something that just happens like all of a sudden. Oh, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to connect to the power that I already possess. It takes time, and don't be discouraged if it does take time. That's the thing I want to say. But Mel, you're the one, sister, that spurred me into becoming like more visible,
I
literally.
want to thank you for that, because
So
in the
I
process
thank you.
see, I had increase your visibility. It didn't say increase Mel's visibility.
Yeah,
It said increase your
your
visibility.
visibility.
Client centric, wanted to reflect it outwards. I wasn't really sure. And you really helped me get to kind of the core. And as I say, Exquisite Eve, Voyaveda, and Jonathan,
My
they,
twin.
they kind of catapulted the rest. But I really,
Mm-hmm.
occasionally, just like you said, I was stuck in invisible as an introvert. I wanted to hang out behind my Zoom blanket, which
Yep.
I call my
Me
glow
too.
blanket, and just
Mm-hmm.
hang out. I wasn't sure all the time that the settings were safe. And I appreciate Fascination Advantages and you for helping me understand. I had a magnet when I was invisible for attracting whoever was passive aggressive in the room. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I love that we've got connect to the power, because
Mm-hmm.
in Fascination Advantages back then, I took that assessment in like 2013, 2014, and they said the power was my third
Oh,
advantage. I'm like,
wow.
what in the world? I didn't see it.
Mm,
I didn't see
mm,
it. I didn't feel it. I didn't feel the vibe. I didn't feel the
mhm,
cadence.
mhm,
I didn't feel maybe the energy to sustain it, you know? And
mhm,
I really have to thank you for that, because Marcia had a version of Be Visible that I really fell in love with. It described the different stages. It described the invisible. It described the Be Visible. And at the time, I thought it was invisible, to be visible, to be profitable. Now I know that missing step, that I'm possible, that confidence piece, which was
mm,
so missing for me.
mm.
I didn't
That's
feel it.
good.
I reflected it. It was
Mhm,
from the generation, the act as if,
mhm,
but the real reminder to really show up as ourselves when we're comfortable. Marcia, watching her now with her Uncover project,
mhm,
with the strength that she had to step out with the Brand Naked agency, and now watching you with your executive call. I love watching you, because you're reminding me, as I'm watching you, truly step into the queen that is Marcia out in public.
yeah. Thank
That,
you.
thank you, is that
Mm,
it really takes a system. Sometimes it takes a structure. It takes exceptional and stellar support, as well as the inspiration. So before we leave each other shortly, please remind us of those 3 steps, and we'll maybe put them in the
mhm.
comments
Yeah,
so that we have them, so that
yeah,
those who are tuning in for a replay and didn't have a pen, they have a chance to like grab it.
absolutely. So the first one is travel your road. Okay. And remember, your road is different from others. Okay. The second one is experience the journey. And that means learning along the way, the tools, the strategies, activities that will help you navigate in your business and your life, right? And the third one is share the destination. So once you've traveled your road, experienced your journey, then you can share confidently with others those experiences, your experiences, and can possibly help them to discover theirs along the way. Community. So those are the 3 things. And can I just say this? I just have to say this before we leave. So I want to say you are more than the role of being a mom, dad, husband, wife, daughter, son, lawyer, doctor, whatever. Okay. You are divinely formed with various intricately intertwined aspects and experiences. You have layers. Okay. So you are more than physical self. You are more than psychological self. You are more than spiritual self. You are mind, body, and spirit. And take action to get to know yourself on these deeper levels, on these levels deeper. Okay. I want you to know that because that helps you with alignment, focusing on the whole you and not just on just one aspect, which might be the business. That was the problem for me. So I had to say that. I just had to say that. Had to throw that in there because that alignment is so key. You know, that's how you connect to the power that you already possess. It's already there. It's already there. You just may need help getting it out, whether it's through, like I said, community, through, meditating, whatever, through talking to a life coach or a therapist, whatever. It's there. It's there. You've got it.
I truly love that, and I'm extremely grateful for the miracle of you. It's a wonderful song uh, by by Curtis Mayfield. I'm dating myself again, and I remember it because it was in the movie Claudine. And I
Mm,
remember Gladys singing The Makings of You. Marcia's reminding
mm.
us that within us, we truly have the makings of you, or the makings of what I like to call my blend. We all have it. You may
Yes,
not
we
feel
do.
like you may not feel like you're ready to bottle it, put a logo on it, or take a step towards calling it a personal, a business, or a professional brand yet. But around you, there's tremendous energy, there's
Yeah.
tremendous support.
Yes.
On the road, we may only see the roadblocks,
Hmm.
we may only see the hazards, the flashing lights, the stop signs. We're not necessarily feeling the green lights. It's a reminder, as Marcia said, at some point, at any point, find a hand to someone who can walk with you down
Yeah.
the path, even if it's just a
Absolutely.
couple of steps,
Absolutely.
or find someone who you trust, who's around
Hmm.
just during that time when you pause. Because Marcia also did an amazing presentation that I was just mentioning to her earlier. It's inside of our Be Visible Shifts community, which will kick back off later this summer. But Marcia did a presentation on becoming that I think is an amazing tag into today's topic about connect to the power you already possess. We're in that process of becoming monarch butterflies,
Hmm.
or
Love that.
or that bird, or that beautiful phoenix that Jackie just used to design a new logo for us for We Rise and Soar. We're in that process of trying to step, and I think sometimes it feels like an internal transformation, or an internal battle, or a little bit of a revolution. And like I said, I like the idea of an alchemy blend because it's in a safe lab, so it's not harming somebody else
I love
with the
that.
debris.
I love
And
that.
just reach out when you have a chance, and definitely check into Marvelous Marcia. And marvelous is really probably the understatement word. If I had to think of the word, have a magnificent day probably came from hanging out with Marcia.
Ah,
She's magnificent at every interaction, at every contact point. And
oh,
sweetheart,
thank
I
you,
forgot to
Mel.
toast you across the miles. Today's coconut water commercial is brought to you by Vita Loca, Vita Coco Coconut Water, the original. But I really just have to thank you for your gems today, and especially I'm going to find out your new address so we can send you some goodies for your knee,
Thank
and
you.
connect you with some amazing stellar healers that I've learned through the Revisible Shifts community. But I just wanted to say thank you for joining us today. Thanks
Thank
for
you for
bringing your
having me.
jams and your magic. and for joining us for such a rich journey.
No, I want to
Thanks
thank
for being a
you.
blessing.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on Impossible Live. Thank you. It's been an honor, honestly.
Thank you so much, beautiful. Take care,
Okay.
stay
You
safe,
too.
and stay safe, stay well, stay inspired, stay in touch, and have a magnificent day. If you're popping in live or for replays, let us know your gems so we can help you connect to the power, as Marcia says, you already possess. Be wonderful. Take
Bye,
care, everybody.
everybody.